participation. As you can see, Erica's not here today. She's going to be traveling for the next several weeks, so she's actually not going to be with us through the rest of the month of April or throughout May. She'll return to the airwaves with me in June. This is not because she disagrees with me, not because she hates me. She does the show in spite of those things. But she's actually got some things going on personally. So she will be doing those things and will be back and joining us when she gets there, when she gets back. So grateful that she still does the show with us. Grateful that everybody here is staying with us as well. And we really do appreciate all the stuff that, all the support we've had as well. If you go over to aaronbarker.substack.com, you can get the updates for the regular program. The regular show is going to be posted up typically weekly. And I say typically because usually I get that up every Sunday. So the show airs on Saturday, then I do all the stuff to it. And I send that out to everybody who's a free subscriber and paid subscriber on the Breakdown Substack every Sunday. And then for those who are paid subscribers to the Breakdown, for everybody who's a paid subscriber to the Breakdown, we send out the new show every Wednesday. So you get the brand new show. The show that Erica and I talked about this past week is going to be pretty great. We really appreciate it if you all would support us over there. That show is about emotional intelligence, accountability, transparency, etc. It's a really great show, really enjoyable. I'm glad that we're able to talk about some of those topics. It's nothing. It's not specific over there. It's not like, oh, this is a paranormal show. Oh, it's this. It's called The Breakdown Declassified, but really it's about whatever topics interest us at the time, at the moment, whatever tickles our fancy and whatever makes us happy to talk about. So if you're now watching the show, because Rumble is where we typically get the majority of our listeners, if you would be so grateful as to share the show on Facebook or YouTube, wherever it is you're listening, so that other people can see it. And for those of you that might be listening that are in the Breakdown Backstage Pass chat over on Facebook, if you could let folks know as well on Facebook that we are here, that we would greatly appreciate that. So a lot of stuff to talk about this week. We've got a lot of people that are up in arms over some posts being made on Facebook, and some people that are threatening to no longer support the Breakdown. People I didn't even know supported the Breakdown, which actually kind of is kind of nice. You find out some people that are still supporting you, and then find out that they no longer want to support you. It's like you gained one and lost one in the same day. That happened. But I want to talk about a couple things. We'll talk about Karmelo Anthony and Kyle Rittenhouse. I also want to talk about a gentleman that was being detained in Florida after it was proven that his birth certificate was authentic here in the United States. Why he's still being held, why people aren't upset about that. And I would like to discuss that. As a matter of fact, I'll probably go ahead and open up with that. Probably get to a little bit of bad theology coming up here and in the latter half of the show, which might go a little over, might go a little less. Depends on if my voice gives out. Usually the show runs till about 11 a.m. Because of all the technical difficulties, unfortunately, I might be up against that. I'm not sure, but my voice, it depends on whether or not my voice. I'm not like, I can't complain. Scotty Roberts has been enduring a lot of stuff with his voice, and I really, my positive thoughts and good vibes go out to him as well, and hope that he can get better, which it looks like he has. I think that's probably, as somebody who loves to talk, and loves to bloviate and use my voice, even though I'm told to shut up. It really terrifies me to think that if anything were to happen to my voice, if I wouldn't be able to say anything. I would really love to write. And I've mentioned this before, but I've got two. I wish I could show you. But I've got two typewriters on my desk right now. One is an old manual typewriter from like maybe the 70s. And it is, I could probably pick that up and show you that one. But it's an old manual typewriter from the 70s. I paid $2 for it. I looked for it on Facebook Marketplace. Here it is right here. I looked for it on Facebook Marketplace. I found it because last year, after I almost died in the hospital, I was listening to a lot of Stephen King and a lot of books, a lot of novels and stuff. When I was in the hospital, I like to joke. I made it through the hospital with a steady diet of The Righteous Gemstones, Joel Osteen, and Jimmy Buffett. And I listened to a lot of audiobooks. I remember I was listening to I love that sound. I listened to Misery whilst I was suffering with gout in my ankle, which is arthritic gout. It's a form of arthritis. And I remember listening to the part where if you've never seen the movie or the book, there's a part where Annie um hobbles Paul. And in the movie, she takes a 4x4 and puts it between his ankles and then slams his ankles with a sledgehammer. And you see his feet flop. In the book, she chops his foot off. Now, when I was suffering with arthritic gout, if you've never had that, it's horribly painful. But it was in my ankle. I couldn't walk. And I was thinking, I was like, man, that would feel so nice right now if somebody would just lop my foot off with an axe. But I was listening to a lot of that. But anyway, I got inspired when I listened to Stephen King, listen to books. I read books, Jimmy Buffett books. I love his books. They're fantastic. And then the other books I was reading at the time, I have a list of all the books I read. And listening to books on audio is the same thing. You can say you read a book if you listen to it on audio. I will, that's a hill I'll die on. But I got I got this typewriter, and then I got this electric typewriter. It's a Panasonic electric typewriter. It's heavy as all get out. Let me see if I can pick it up and show you this one. Look at that. I got this one right there. Man, it's a beast. Oh, man. So I got that one because I was looking on Facebook Marketplace just for other typewriters that I could find, because brand new typewriters are like $180 to $250. And I did order one of those. And when I got it, it was horrible. Like you would type, and after you would type a couple of words, it would throw in spaces automatically, and the words wouldn't work. The keys felt very chintzy and cheap. So I ended up returning that one. And I was still looking on Facebook Marketplace for other ones. So I found this typewriter, and the person was like, hey, here's a typewriter. It's free. Come get it. So I was like, I'll come get it. And then the woman was like, it'll be sitting out in my driveway in front of my garage at 1:00 tomorrow. So I was there, found it during the driveway. Just walked down, grabbed it, put it back in the car, and left. And it's been sitting here. And I've used it a little bit. I sat down here, put on some music. But I mean, I say all that to say that, if I were to lose my voice, would I be able to use my words still by writing? And that's one of the things I believe that is so important for somebody like myself, is how do I get what my ideas are, if somebody actually gives a flying rat's butt what I have to say. But I just want to be, creative in some way. I want to put out in the world something. I believe that, and that contribution, I believe everybody wants to make some form of contribution. So if I were to lose my voice or lose my ability to communicate, would I be able to write? That's one of the things I think about. I would love to write. I'd love to write more. And I've got some inspiration. It's just like so I try to sit down. I know I'm self-diagnosed with ADHD, but I'm like, if I try to sit down and write this stuff, am I going to actually be able to get it out? So I just want to sit down here, turn on my lava lamp that my daughter bought me, my Sonic the Hedgehog lava lamp, put on some synthwave music, which has become my new obsession, turn off all distractions, and just start typing. I got a couple stories in my head I want to get out there, and I think they'd be kind of fun to get out. But I would love to do that. Maybe write a story about a drummer. Write a story about a drummer that does something. If you have any ideas about what that, just drop it in the chat. But if I were to lose my voice, my ability to communicate, would I be able to do it in other ways? Would I be able to write? Would I be able to get out my ideas and think about that? And I really feel for Scotty and his issues with his voice, because it's very frightening. So I feel for that. So hey Larry, thanks for listening. I appreciate that very much. And if you could give other people the opportunity to listen as well, simply by just sharing the show and then commenting about that, would really greatly appreciate that. And so without further ado, let's get into some of the topics we're talking about this week. So this is, let's see. I was talking about this before I realized I had the sound issue. So I'm going to go ahead and just get into it, because I really don't have a lot of time to kind of prime the pump here with some fun stories or whatnot. I just want to get into some of the things I want to talk about. So down in Florida, U.S.-born citizen was being detained at the request of immigration authorities Thursday, despite an advocate showing his U.S. birth certificate in court and a county judge finding no reason for him to be considered an illegal alien who entered into Florida. Now, I think it's a little bit disrespectful, and I put this up on Facebook as well. People cannot be illegal People can do illegal things, but the moment you begin to dehumanize people and call them illegal, is the moment that you're able to just do them whatever you want. If you call somebody illegitimate, if you call somebody a not person, I believe that's one of the reasons why the trans community is fighting so hard. Because even if you don't agree with folks that have issues that are trans, claim to be trans, have gender dysphoria, any of those issues like that, even though you don't claim to believe in something like that, if you don't realize or acknowledge their existence, what you're saying is that person is not valuable. They don't have an existence. Therefore, they're devoid of any service or help. Morning, Jamie. Thanks so much for joining us. I appreciate that. Sorry for all the technical difficulties. And I believe that's the reason that people need to understand that's what we're trying to do. That's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to say, look, you can't just go around saying that people are illegal. You can't just go around saying, well, I'm going to call you by whatever name you were born with. You don't know that person. How many times does somebody come to you and say, hey, my name's James, but I go by Jim. Don't call me James. And you would call that person Jim out of respect for that person. So if somebody comes to you and says, hey, don't call me Bob, I want to go by Lisa. Okay, I don't know why, but I'm going to respect you, call you Lisa, because if I can't even give you enough dignity and respect to determine what you're going to be called by, I'm going to call you by what I want to call you by. I mean, it's like we got to do a Crocodile Dundee check. We all reach down and be like, that's not a Sheila. We can't do that to every person we come in contact with. So it saves a lot of time and allows us to speak into people's lives if we actually listen to what they say and acknowledge them. And that's a cry from the trans community and the LGBT community that you recognize trans kids exist and trans people exist by actually acknowledging the fact that they are human beings. That's what they want. They want to be acknowledged that they're human beings, because the moment you begin to say that a person is not who they say they are, you dehumanize them. So by calling somebody an illegal alien, their act may be illegal. They may be doing something that's illegal, but you don't call people in prisons illegal, right? An American citizen that robbed a bank, you wouldn't go in there and be like, you're illegal. Your existence is not against the law. Your personhood is not against the law. The act you committed is against the law. So I believe that it's very important that we not refer to people in terms that dehumanize them, right? But a U.S.-born man was charged this week with being an unauthorized alien in Florida, has been released. Okay, he was released, but before we get to the fact that he was released, he was Juan Carlos Lopez Gomez, 20, was arrested Thursday evening by Florida Highway Patrol and charged under a state immigration law that has been temporarily blocked since early this month. After inspecting his birth certificate, Leon County Judge LaShawn Riggins said during the hearing that this is indeed an authentic document, but that she did not have jurisdiction beyond finding no probable cause for the charge. Immigration and Customs Enforcement's role is to enforce immigration laws that generally apply to non-citizens. American citizens are protected at ICE's request. Everything tracks for him being sent to Thomas Kennedy, who was I believe a spokesman or a Florida Immigration Coalition. Everything tracks for him being sent to an ICE detention center. NBC News has reached out to state and federal authorities for comment. Lopez Gomez was in a vehicle with other passengers and was traveling from work to Georgia when they were stopped after entering Florida. So here's my question and my query that was asked at the beginning of last hour so a lot of y'all didn't hear. The beginning of this hour that you all didn't hear simply because my audio issues and such. But why is this guy being held against the Constitution? He's an American citizen. He should be released as an American citizen. There's no grounds to hold this guy. If this were to happen under a Biden administration or an Obama administration, if it were to happen under any other administration, that was a Democrat administration. We'll just say this. If this were to happen under a Democrat administration, I would be just as outraged as I am right now. I would be just as angry as I am right now, because you don't have the right. The government does not have the right to hold somebody without cause. They're calling him an illegal alien. Let's say they go to him, they show me side papers. These are the papers. When you show them your papers, like, oh, okay, you can continue to walk. You can continue to go because you're an American citizen. Your papers are in order. And that's unfortunately what we're traveling towards, is where we're headed. It's going to be to a point where you're going to have to show your papers. I mean, we're already doing the Real ID, which is implemented in May. So you're telling me I have to have my passport or the Real ID to travel domestically? That should scare the crap out of you. That should bother the crap out of you. You should not be happy about that. And if you comply with that, unfortunately, we at this point we have to. But if you comply with that willingly and think it's okay, there's a big problem. There's a big problem. I understand that there are people out there that have to do it simply because they're worked. They have to do it because they work on contractors or the government, etc. So those situations, I understand. Unfortunately, that's the bad part about it. But we are slowly becoming a nation that requires you, and this is under both any kind of administration. This is under Republican and Democrat administration, because if you remember, the Patriot Act was passed under a Republican administration and then re-upped under the NDAA, the National Defense Authorization Act, by the Obama administration and the House during that time as well. So it's not like it's just Republican or just Democrat. It's not like Trump's coming in and saying, let's do away with this. This is happening under both administrations. Larry, when you say, Larry comments here, what about the pardoned J6ers who are still incarcerated? What about them? I mean, if you've listened to this program for any period of time, I feel that everybody that had Quoddy Fingers were involved in the Quoddy Fingers insurrection, which it was not. It was the worst, weakest insurrection ever, should be released. I've said that for years. Since it happened, they should be released. And this is another thing. You may not have heard that talked about on the show for some reason. I'm not sure how relatively new you are here, Larry, but you may not have heard that talked about on the show, but it doesn't mean that I haven't talked about it. It doesn't mean that I haven't talked about situations similar to that. It just means you haven't heard me talk about it. J-May, I'm going to get to that. The situation in which it simply says here that they were traveling. He was in a vehicle with other passengers and was traveling to work from Georgia when they were stopped after entering Florida. I don't know why they were stopped. Were they racially profiled? Lopez Gomez was born in Georgia, but lived much of his life in Mexico. His first language is Tzotzil, I believe is how you Tzotzil, a Mayan language. The Florida Phoenix reported his mother burst into tears when she saw her son virtually at his hearing. Kennedy compared the situation to Franz Kafka's novel, The Trial, in which man must defend himself against a charge but has no information about it. See, that's the thing. There's really no reason. They don't understand necessarily why he was held. Now, let's jump to this. This was by CNN. A U.S.-born man charged this week with being an unauthorized alien in Florida has been released after spending the night in a jail on a 48-hour hold requested by U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement amid the Trump administration's broad deportation crackdown. Juan Carlos Lopez Gomez, 20, was arrested Wednesday by Florida Highway Patrol when the car he was riding in was pulled over for speeding. So the car was pulled over for speeding. He was in the car. That was it. He was crossing into Florida for his work in construction in Tallahassee. Uncertainties stemming from a language barrier or even customs paperwork with Lopez Gomez filled out as a teen may be factors in the Florida detention. His attorney and advocate told CNN as they try to understand what happened. Still, the case highlights concerns over racial profiling and immigrants' rights as the White House aims to vastly slow arrivals at the border and eject undocumented immigrants from children and suspected criminals, and judges weigh the legality of the mounting number of each cases. I think it shows the danger of the rhetoric. Akbar said of Lopez Gomez's cases, we can be hard on immigration and we want to protect the borders without profiling people because that is what it is, racial profiling. Why were they asked if they're in this vehicle? If I'm in a vehicle and somebody gets pulled over for speeding and a cop asks me for my license, I'm not going to say anything to that cop. I wasn't speeding. You have no right to ask me for my driver's license. She asked me for my driver's license. Now what? You want to check my citizenship? You want to check my status? How is this any different from making sure that your papers are in order? And this should be enraging to anybody. It should be upsetting to anybody. It should be angering to anybody that has any desire to ensure that we are, in fact, in a country that wants to protect our rights and wants to protect our freedoms. And it doesn't matter what parties or what affiliation you're on. Now, I was taken to task by somebody about this who was saying, well, you're making your judgments based on one case. What happened to waiting till all the facts were presented? This has been years of documented information and instances where ICE has detained people, treated people disrespectfully, and held people against their will. This has been something that is completely and utterly a pattern for this organization. All right. That is absolutely right. J. May says if he's a citizen, he should be let go. Let's start there. You're absolutely right, J. May. All right, folks, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to come right back because we're going to make sure that we give you the fullness of the show as we can today, and so long as my voice holds out. Talk to you in a minute. That wasn't even a minute. You're getting all kinds today. J. May continues here, by the way. We're just talking about this situation in Florida. But you are listening to The Breakdown. Erica is not going to be with us for the rest of the month of April or for May because of some personal travels and such. If you want to find out what she's doing, you can reach out to her and ask her. But she won't be with us. You'll just be getting me. So this is an uncontrollable idiocy that you're going to be having for the next several weeks. This also goes for the Declassified show, The Breakdown Declassified, which is also a part of this. So if you go to aaronbarker.substack.com, you can become a free subscriber over there. I really do. I have this desire. It's there inside me to put out more content that makes us think, that drives us to consider the situations that we're in and critically think about circumstances that we face. I want to put that out there, but then also you can become a paid subscriber and get the Breakdown Declassified. And the Breakdown Declassified is a show where we really just talk about anything. I've got a theologian that's coming up here that is in the month of July. Erica will be here for that one. In the month of July, we're going to talk about universal salvation and its applications. There's several other shows out there that are using my content for their content, which I think is fantastic for a couple of reasons. It generates, that's what I want. I want to generate conversation. I want there to be a back and forth. I want there to be a discussion. I'm not trying to just piss people off. That's not my goal. My goal is to generate conversation, right? Generate thought, critical thinking. I'm not trying to sow seeds of discord, simply trying to make us think. And that's one of the things that I've been doing with this Karmelo Anthony and Kyle Rittenhouse comparison that I've been making, which I want to talk about. Hey, Louise, great to see you on the show. Thank you so much for stopping by. Really appreciate that. It's been a minute since I've seen you, and it's always great to have you interacting on Facebook with me, and then also here on the show. Don't forget to like and share the show if you're listening and watching on Facebook or on YouTube. Like it, smash that like button, and share that as well so other people get to see and they can jump on and discuss with us what's going on here. Also, you can join us on the Crusade Channel, live radio the way it should be. Simply go to crusadechannel.com. Now, I also encourage you to check out Mike Church's show, which comes on YouTube. If you go to youtube.com, if you don't know how to get there to YouTube, then somebody needs to smack you on the head with a tack hammer because you're a if you go to, I am subscribed there. Just simply go to my subscriptions. If you go to the Crusade Radio Network, which is on YouTube, you can subscribe to the show every day. Mike Church is on there from 7 a.m. to 11 a.m. I think it's 11 or 10, 7 to 10 a.m. Central Time. So Eastern, it's 8 to 11. And he is on there each day. And he has a great amount of intelligence when it comes to the story and just a lot of great information. We don't always agree on everything, but I love the fact that Mike still lets me bloviate on the weekends here because it generates conversation there also. And I'm very happy about that. So you can listen if you want to go to the crusadechannel.com. Live radio the way it should be. Get live programming on Saturdays and also live programming each and every day. Don't forget to like us on all the socials as well. We really do appreciate that too. All right, so a little bit of this. Let's jump into some of the comments here. JMA says it's a good example of how learning English could have been helpful. Doesn't matter if you speak English or not. I think it's a good example of learning your rights, regardless of what language you speak. That's racial profiling. Oh, they don't speak English. They must not be a citizen. And you know, I find it infuriating, by the way, whenever I see somebody share on Facebook ICE's number to report your citizens. You're a rat. What a rat. Reporting your citizens as well. Look up the evidence and information on this. The gentleman's name is Juan Carlos Lopez Gomez, and he was released. But if you find something that is that says, "Hey Barker, you missed this," post, just send it to me. I'm fine. I want to know. I want to know what it is that I could possibly be missing on here. We all have blind spots, so that is something I would really like for you to talk about. Now, let's do this here. A couple of things I think are quite interesting. This guy was contacting 911. He was a dispatcher. He was heading on his way home, and because he was on his way to work. We just read the story. This is in Georgia. A man was attempting to call 911 to stop a break-in accused the dispatcher of ordering McDonald's breakfast during their break. Dylan Johnson spoke to local outlet WTOC about an incident that occurred on February 14th. That's Valentine's Day, while his wife and young child were at home alone. Johnson said his wife was panicking because she thought she heard someone attempting to break into their house. My wife called me while I was at work about 9:30 and said someone was snooping around the house, knocking on the doors and banging on windows and stuff. He told the outlet. I was panicking. My wife was home alone with my 5-month-old daughter. Johnson said he called the non-emergency line as he drove home, unsure of what to expect when he arrived at his house, but nobody picked up. He called 911 instead, but once again said nobody picked up. Johnson said he continued calling 911 until somebody finally picked up after 3 calls. Unfortunately, Johnson said the dispatcher sounded a bit preoccupied. McGriddle. Johnson said he heard the dispatcher say to someone else before she turned her attention back to him. I'm sorry, what? Johnson said that by the time police arrived at his house, they would be trespassed. It was long gone. His family was safe, but quite shaken up. Chatham County Chairman Chester Ellis spoke to the outlet concerning the McDonald's call and said that should never happen. Your ordering breakfast should be different from answering a call. The two should never intertwine. The outlet reported that thousands of calls had been abandoned at the call center in question each month due to dispatchers not responding. So dispatchers not responding to calls when they call 911, letting them go to just unanswered, unattended. And they're ordering McDonald's. So much for public servants. This is another reason, people are like, "Why you're law enforcement out there to protect your rights." Yeah. How do they know? You call 911, you got to be ready to protect yourself, unfortunately. Because of situations like that. But could you imagine, like, "Hey, 911, my wife is at home alone. I'm reporting a break." "Oh, no, just give me a McGriddle if you don't mind, please. Yeah. Make sure I got a hash brown with that, too. Don't forget to give me a hash brown." "Yeah, I'll take a coffee, give mother strap." Hold on just a second, sir. I'm sorry. I know your wife's in peril and she's about to die, but I'm actually ordering my breakfast from McDonald's. I personally, although McGriddles are delicious and tasty, I think I got to be in a mood for that. I would take the Burger King croissant sandwich, double sausage, egg, and cheese croissant sandwich, which at most Burger Kings right now are 2 for $6. I'll tell you what, I fill you up. It's good stuff. Really good stuff, actually. I enjoy it. But McDonald's does have a good breakfast, man. I was telling Bree, we went there one time, ordered breakfast, and I was like, they used to have the sausage, egg, and cheese muffins you could get there for $1. And this wasn't me talking about how I used to climb up hills both ways, in the snow both ways going to school. But just a few years ago, you could get 2 sausage, egg, and cheese muffins, a hash brown, and a Diet Coke with no ice. I drink my sodas with no ice, by the way, for $4 and some change. It's like, what, $4.24, something like that? Now, for a sausage, egg, and cheese muffin, which used to be $1, is now $2.29. A hash brown, which used to be $1, is $2.29. 129% increase. This is under Democrat administrations that it was like that. But the prices for that just skyrocket. Go through so I mean, like, this person's ordering a McGriddle, like regular price on a McGriddle, unless you're using the app. I would be like, hey, let me use the app and I can get you some deals here. I'll pay for it and take the points. I do that all the time. I have like several food apps on here. It's like, hey, y'all want to order Chipotle? Let me order it and you just pay me and I'll get the points for it. That's one of the benefits. Let's see here. So that was that's an unfortunate story here. Let's see what else we got going on. There we go. Now, here is an interesting part, because we're talking about law enforcement, right? We're talking about, J-May says in the comments, the article is claiming a language barrier. Yes, it does. It claims a language barrier. But why is that an automatic assumption that somebody is not a citizen and they have to show their papers? It's like, hey, I think I need to see your papers. Just because somebody doesn't learn the language. Yeah, English is a hard language to learn. Some of us don't even not even speak it good, even though we done been here all of our whole lives. But those are secondary and even tertiary concerns. Why was the police officer asking the people in the car questions? And this is one of the reasons why Amnesty International and the ACLU are adamant about helping people to know their rights, their protesting rights, their rights as a citizen, their rights on when they should or should not show their identification to people, when they're required to. I mean, we're insane, and it really pisses me off here because we're told we need to idolize essentially people that are in law enforcement and military operation, and that's one of the guilt trips that I hate that people use. When they say, when somebody commented on this, on the post that I made here on Facebook, they're like, it's because of law enforcement officers and military officials and military servicemen and women. Let me go ahead and quote this, and I'll read it with my little rooster shake of my head because my hair looks like a rooster this morning. The comment that was made on the post, excuse me, let me pull it up here. I love this comment. It's sad to see what the breakdown has become. I'm shaking my head and pointing my finger sternly. It's because of our military and law enforcement that gives you and every American the opportunity to have a voice, and yet you choose to put out content like this. I first thought you were just clickbaiting, but now I fear your morals have been warped by the evil around us. I pray for you, but can no longer support what you were saying. Okay, so you guilt trip people, and this is one of the things that we actually I think is very frustrating, because it automatically is the soldiers died for your right to speak. Yeah, absolutely. They died for my right to speak. Actually, let me retract that statement. You say they died for my right to speak. So that means I have to support them no matter what they do, because they quotey fingers, according to Lee Greenwood, gave that right to me? No. My rights do not come from law enforcement officers. My rights do not come from military servicemen and women. My rights are given to me because I am a human being created in the image of God. Right? Yes. That's where my rights come from. And it seems like this guilt trip is thrown out there that if you don't support law enforcement in everything that you do, if you don't back the blue, then you're disrespectful. I call bullcrap on that. If you're an LEO, or if you're a military serviceman, Shouldn't you say, if your understanding is that you protect those rights, or that you gave us those rights, which I don't think you gave us those rights, shouldn't you be glad that I'm using my voice to speak up? Shouldn't you be happy that I'm not sitting on my laurels, but I'm participating in the protection of our democratic republic? Why is that a guilt trip? ICE has years. They're unconstitutional in their existence. The Constitution itself doesn't back up what they're doing. The actions of ICE are not only unethical, but they're illegal, immoral, unconstitutional, and racist. And all of a sudden, I'm somehow un-American because I speak out against law enforcement when they do something wrong. Don't use that guilt trip garbage. Don't be one of those people. That means you don't have an argument. That means you're not able to back up your argument with any kind of facts. By the way, crusadechannel.com is where you can listen to the show. crusadechannel.com, live radio the way it should be. You can also catch us on Facebook and YouTube. Sorry about Rumble today. I really hate not being over there because the voice isn't getting out there to as many people as it normally does when I'm not over there on Rumble. Let's see here. Yeah, there's I'm going to post this story in the comments for you, J-May. I'm going to drop it in right here if I can. Here we go. This is the story from CNN. And I haven't gotten to this. I haven't got to list the entire article here yet. I haven't got to read the entire article here yet. But it says here in this article that Lopez Gomez was arrested Thursday on a charge in line with the block state law and listed the arrest affidavit as unauthorized alien enter Florida. I asked the driver and passengers if they were here illegally. And they stated yes, and had never been contacted by U.S. Border or Immigration Customs Enforcement, the arresting officer wrote. One of the men had a Georgia ID, the affidavit states, without saying who. See, this is another thing I always say, which I'm probably going to be, oh, you shouldn't say that. Don't talk to the police. They ask you a question. Are you breaking the law right now? Are you committing a crime right now? You're the cop, right? I'm not going to answer your questions. They should know this stuff. And it's unfortunate that they didn't. Mr. Lopez Gomez was a passenger in a vehicle pulled over for speeding and made a statement to Florida State Trooper that he was not legally authorized to be in the United States. There was also a federal detainer issued for him. The Florida Highway Safety and Motor Vehicles, which oversees the Highway Patrol, told CNN in a statement Friday he was transported to the Leon County Jail. Florida Highway Patrol will continue to work willingly with our federal partners to engage in interior enforcement of immigration law. However, Lopez Gomez never said he was here illegally, his lawyer told CNN. The trooper talked to the driver, who said he was not here legally and did not have a license. The report claims that both passengers said they were not here legally, but it does not quote Mr. Lopez Gomez. The detainer sheet claims that biometrics indicated he was not a citizen, which is also not true. Best case scenario, this was a communication breakdown, but that is best case, and there is profiling at play here, no doubt. Lopez Gomez might appear in government records as an undocumented person because of paperwork he filled out when he was 16, said Yolanda Alonso, a community activist helping his family at age 2. He moved to Mexico, then returned at 16. He didn't have a passport, but was allowed back into the U.S. because he had a social security number and a U.S. birth certificate. He also filed a Form I-94 intended for visitors when they enter and leave the U.S., he said. So there is some communication breakdown here, unfortunately. And there is some misunderstandings here, unfortunately. But it appears here that he never answered these questions. And that based on the testimony of the person that was in the front seat, or the passenger, or the driver of the car, it was because of them that this guy was arrested. Okay. Now, we'll talk about some other stuff here. I'm going to talk about this news story. This is out of Massachusetts. A Massachusetts man held on bail in alleged kidnapping of 5 children. Now, these are his own children. It says here, in one of the 2 people accused of kidnapping 5 young children in Fitchburg, Massachusetts last month and taking them to Texas was arraigned on Thursday. Isael Rivera, 31, and Ruth Encarnacion, 30, were accused of abducting their 5 children. Their own 5 children, by the way. That's something very important to remember here. They were accused of abducting their own children. Let's see if I can go ahead and share this this news report. I think I can. Here we go. Let's share this news report here as we listen to this and find out some details about this as well.
A Fitchburg man is being held without bail after facing kidnapping charges. Isael Rivera was arrested in Texas last month after police say he and his girlfriend Ruth Encarnacion kidnapped their 5 children who were in the custody of the Massachusetts Department of Children and Families. The children were found safe and are now back with DCF. Encarnacion is expected in court next week.
So that's the news report. And that's what they're sharing with us, that the people were charged with abducting their own children. Sorry, I didn't mean to close that article down here. Rivera appeared in court Thursday, was held on bail. Encarnacion is scheduled to face charges on Monday. Rivera, that's the man. Oh, shoot, I don't want to go to that ad. I want to pause that. Rivera, Encarnacion and their children were missing for days before they were found in Whitney, Texas, officials said. Now, here's one of the reasons why we try to withhold judgment to the best of our ability. Okay. This is from Lou Dobbs' website. It gives us the information again that the Massachusetts couple is facing serious charges after allegedly kidnapping their 5 children who had been placed in the custody of Massachusetts Department of Children and Families. That's the DCF. Isael Rivera, 31, and Ruth Encarnacion, 30, were located by Fitchburg police in early March after a multi-state manhunt. The couple is accused of taking the children across state lines in an attempt to evade DCF intervention. Authorities believe the family fled Massachusetts shortly before the state attempted to enforce child protective measures, according to WCVB. Rivera, the biological father of 4 of the 5 children, was arraigned last week in Fitchburg court. A not guilty plea was entered on his behalf, and he is currently being held without bail. Encarnacion, the mother of all 5 children, is scheduled to be arraigned this week and faces 5 counts of kidnapping a minor by a relative. Not guilty plea has also been entered on their behalf. According to law enforcement, the family went missing just as the DCF prepared to remove the children from Encarnacion's care on February 27th. Encarnacion's sister reported her missing days later on March 3rd, citing a lack of contact since February 26th. DCF officially reported the 5 children missing on March 5, triggering a state and federal search. Court documents indicate that DCF had opened a case against the couple in February after a pediatrician flagged signs of neglect involving the youngest child, a 9-month-old. DCF intervened shortly thereafter, but by then, the family had reportedly left Massachusetts. According to unconfirmed reports, they told their pediatrician, and here's the kicker, they told their pediatrician they were skipping government juices for their baby. Something that you're not allowed to say the word of, but it involves a needle with medication, and it's supposed to inoculate chemically. Here's what the Boston Broadside reported. The parents who homeschool their children stated their pediatrician that they were opposed to their new baby receiving the shots based on their sincerely held religious beliefs. Despite citing religious exemptions, which are law in Massachusetts, the father, Isael Rivera, is being held in Worcester County Jail on a $200,000 bond for $20,000 cash bail, while the couple's 5 children have reportedly been taken into custody by Child Protective Services. This is a blatant violation of fundamental rights on multiple levels, says Ron Bouchard, constitutional law strategist. By what authority has this family been apprehended? And for what? Was there a warrant? What is familial kidnapping? A family has the right to travel with their children. How and why have they been reported missing, and by whom? What laws have they broken, and what imminent danger exists to justify the drastic action of DCF and the Fitchburg Police Department traumatizing this family by tearing it apart? The ordeal began when the family's pediatrician, a mandatory reporter, now mandatory reporting is used for abuse. Whenever there's a child that's in danger or jeopardy, they have to report this. If there's any kind of SA or if there's any kind of physical abuse that's happening, they have to report. I'm a mandatory report because I'm an ordained minister. And even though the laws may be a little loosely based on that, I consider myself a mandatory reporter. The ordeal began. The family's pediatrician, a mandatory reporter, threatened to report them to DCF after the parents declined vaccinations for their infant during a wellness check. The doctor said if we didn't vaccinate, he'd have to report us. The father, Izzy Rivera, allegedly told an advocate who provided safe harbor for the family in Texas. Despite assurances that their baby was well fed, cared for, and thriving, DCF soon left a notice on their door demanding a home visit. Fearing for their family, the parents refused, citing their rights. What followed was a dramatic escalation. Fitchburg police, at the direction of Leo Minster, DCF, allegedly surrounded their apartment, banging on doors and circling the property for up to 30 minutes. Ruth Encarnacion hid in the closet with her 5 children, said the Good Samaritan who assisted the family over their 3-week exile. According to her account of what the family told her, with police and DCF returning in greater numbers the next day. Rivera was also forced to hide while his wife and children fled from Fitchburg. The children, ages 10, 9, 5, 4, and 9 months, were eventually found unharmed in Whitney, Texas, and were now in the custody of Child Protective Services. Attorney Kevin Larson countered that Encarnacion had acted in the best interest of her children. She was protecting her children. Also, she had earlier fled to Texas. Larson and Encarnacion is not a flight risk, said she's not going anywhere without her children. Larson said authorities lack probable cause to charge his client. He said Encarnacion was not present for the care and protection, hearing that she was not aware of any court order. So here you have the government accusing a family of familial kidnapping, of taking their own children, of their children missing. And then DCF steps in and takes the kids because they wouldn't vaccinate. Because they wouldn't vaccinate their kids. This pediatrician reported them, and then CPS showed up at their house with armed police officers twice, circling, banging on windows, banging on doors, attempting to take their children because they would not. Now, this should scare the crap out of anybody. This is one of the reasons why, and I'll tell you this is one of the reasons why in my earlier radio broadcast days, I didn't speak about this, because I was scared to death that CPS was going to go banging on my door wanting to take my children from me. And unfortunately, not that my voice would have added anything to it. Unfortunately, they continue to take people's children. They continue to take people's livelihoods away from them. They're your family, your kids. By the threat of taking your kids, you don't want to inject them with things that are against your religion. Religious exemption or not, you should be able to have medical freedom. Anybody who supports CPS taking children because they refuse to vaccinate should scare anybody. That really should frighten the pants off anybody. Especially when they do a multi-state, they accuse them of kidnapping their children, their own kids. They're reported missing by whom? They're homeschooled. They're with their parents. They're allowed to travel with their children wherever they want to go. And that's a great point, J. May. She said, and yet we see children in real dangerous situations, and they claim that there's nothing they can do. That's a great point. The fact that there are children in specific circumstances that are in danger, and they say, I don't know, we can do. And in these circumstances, we're saying, look, that they're not in danger. They're being loved and cared for. They're well nourished. They're being taken care of by their families. by very loving parents and you want to take them away. And this is the law enforcement that we're supposed to support, by the way. This is the law enforcement that we're supposed to love and lick the boots of. Take a quick break. We'll be back here with Kyle and Karmelo on the breakdown.
Ask me the questions that get you kicked out of Bible studies and sent to therapy.
You're listening to The Breakdown.
Thanks everybody for staying with us. This is the breakdown. Don't forget to go to aaronbarker.substack.com and you can join the show over there by subbing for free, or you can pay to subscribe with us as well. Now, I want to talk a little bit here. Let me see. Oh boy, what happened there? Oh, for some reason, that music wants to start again. So I will just mute that. Sorry about that, folks. That song really likes itself, and it really wants to hear itself talk. Or is it supposed to do that? Oh, that's what it is. This is a new bumper track for me. Sorry about that. Back on the breakdown here. Thanks again for staying with us. And again, as mentioned, you can join us over on aaronbarker.substack.com by heading on over there and joining in the program and commenting as well. We really do appreciate that. A couple of things I want to address here. And one of those things that I want to address is the Karmelo Anthony and Austin Metcalf circumstance and situation that we're facing here. Now, I've had a lot of people get upset at me. A lot of people are angry at me because of some comparisons I've made between Kyle Rittenhouse and Karmelo Anthony. Now, the first thing I want to do is just say we all know, unfortunately, the circumstance, and there has been some eyewitness testimony that has come out. Also been some other facts and information that have come out that I want to kind of address here. First off, we're being told we initially found out that Karmelo Anthony was at a track meet. Some people say he wasn't supposed to be at this track meet. And once he was at this track meet, he was confronted by a young man by the name of Austin Metcalf. Metcalf told him that he wasn't supposed to be there. Metcalf and there were some words exchanged. Karmelo Anthony put his hand in his bag and said, touch me and see what happens. And the Austin Metcalf evidently grabbed him, at which point Karmelo Anthony used his knife against him, and it was unfortunately resulted in the death of Austin Metcalf. Now, those are the facts and information that we first got. Police reports have said that the eyewitness accounts of saying essentially the same thing. People have reported what has happened there. Now, there were multiple times. I'm trying to find some information here. But there were multiple times that people had, multiple eyewitness accounts of people that were trying to say that Austin, all of this essentially was the same thing. But there are other additional things that were saying that there was altercations between the two before. I thought, saved that information And I'm trying to find that now. Perhaps I can find it easier on my cell phone because that's where I saved it, I think, on my Facebook. Now, when all of this first happened, one of the things that I wanted to point out to people was there was an immediate rush to judgment. People stepped out saying that he was a thug. He shouldn't have been there. It was unnecessary. It was wrong of him to be there. He should not have stepped out. He should not have been part of this. That's why I couldn't find it. I think I took a screenshot of it just in case the person deleted it. People are saying he shouldn't have been there. He should have listened. It was a part of it. And then people started saying, well, he was carrying a knife on school property, and that's a felony. I've never said any of that stuff was true. Never said any of that stuff was false. Never said I agreed or disagreed with any of that. One thing I did say that I disagreed with was the fact that after when Kyle Rittenhouse was arrested, before Kyle Rittenhouse was even charged with anything, conservative pundits and conservatives were rushing to his support. And they were saying he was protecting himself. He was this, he was that, whatever it was. Multiple things. He is his Second Amendment rights. He had every right to be there. He's protecting the community and blah, blah, blah. All of this stuff is what he was, essentially was the support that came from that. Okay, hard, you give support. But Karmelo Anthony was arrested, and people immediately knew that he was a thug. People immediately knew that he was a horrible person. People immediately knew he was a murderer and that he was breaking the law and he needs to go to jail. And it was not self-defense. Now, how can you rush to that kind of judgment? How can you rush to that kind of judgment? Whereas before, people were supporting Kyle Rittenhouse with no information. And now they are saying, with no information, they are against Karmelo Anthony. I never said that the situation is exactly the same. I never tried comparing apples to apples on this circumstance. I tried comparing the fact that the rush to judgment against Karmelo Anthony was not congruent with a rush to judgment to support Kyle Rittenhouse. Simple as that. We don't know all the circumstances. We don't have all of the facts. So I just want to say that I am not. But but that doesn't stop people from saying you're unethical for doing that. They question your integrity. You make a comparison between activities that people do and you wonder, you put out there, hey, why is it that you're doing this, but you're not doing that? And I'm the one who lacks integrity. There was a comment that was made on one of the posts, which honestly was a head scratcher to me. And I'll see if I can find it here. I believe it was on this recent post. Okay. Somebody says the legality doesn't matter. Rule of law doesn't matter if Aaron Barker thinks it is otherwise. Sorry, I don't see your opinion above case law as a relative. How can you arbitrarily choose your opinion above the law? This is a violation of ethics. What? Now, this person has made multiple comments on multiple posts, and each one of the posts, they want to make the statement that a concealed weapon at school is a felony, that death during the commission of a felony is capital murder. End of debate. That person has made a judgment. Their opinion is now case law. Yet the entirety of the time I've been saying, wait till facts come out before you rush to judgment. Why are you rushing to judgment? Why are you making these accusations? Why are you saying these things? Yet this person is telling me that my opinion is above case law. No, I'm not saying my opinion's above case law. I'm saying wait until we have all the information. How is that? And you scratch your head at comments like that because I feel like Proverbs, it says, answer not a fool according to his folly, lest he seem wise in his own eyes. Answer a fool according to his folly, lest he seem wise. I mean, it says, don't answer a fool according to his folly, lest he seem wise, and then answer a fool according to his folly, lest he seem wise. I reject the premise of that statement. I have not put my opinion above case law. As a matter of fact, I've said wait until the facts are revealed. And this person has made all kinds of judgments based on very little information. So it's statements like that I just don't understand. So whenever you get to these circumstances, I'm just saying wait. Now, why is it that Carmelo Anthony or that Kyle Rittenhouse's supporters have raised almost $1 million, raised over six or $700,000, and then also that was before and then after they have continued to raise money? That's okay. But if Carmelo Anthony attempts to raise money, or his family or supporters attempt to raise money to help him out, that's wrong. I believe that there is a racial factor to this. I believe that the prejudicial rush to judgment that a black man is the criminal and a white man is the victim is something that people rush to judgment on. And it's insulting. It's insulting to a lot of people. It's insulting to families. It's insulting to justice, and it's insulting to the American way of life for someone to be shut down for simply asking questions and simply asking for conversation. Now, here is something that was reported according to the coach. This is just adding to the conversation. The week before last, Austin and Karmelo had a fight at a party. Karmelo lost, took the L, and walked away. Austin and his twin brother had friends at Karmelo's school who started to harass him, so he stayed home for a couple of days. On the day of the tragedy, Karmelo went to the other school for a track meet. He was sitting in the bleachers and it started to rain. The coach told him to go and sit under the tent. He was under the tent with his friends when the Metcalf twins came over to the tent. They told him to go, and when he didn't move, Austin grabbed his phone and threw it so it broke. The twins then proceeded to jump him with Austin on top of Karmelo. Karmelo pulled out a knife and stabbed Austin. When Austin got up, that's when his twin realized he had been hurt. Texas is a stand your ground state, and self-defense is different in stand your ground states than it is in Illinois. Karmelo had the right to defend himself and his property. Now, this is just something that's being added out there. I can't make a judgment based on this because this is evidently being told by the coach. But this is just part of it. See, we didn't know this information last week. You may not have been hearing this information until just now. Today's date is the 19th. I took this screenshot yesterday on April 18th at 1:55 in the PM. And yet somebody still says, oh, he went there looking for trouble. He had a knife. He went to the wrong tent and stayed there, even though he was told to move by someone who beat him before. Sounds like revenge, not self-defense. Now, they say that there is a video. Now that this person made a comment. He said, so he went there looking for trouble, had a knife, went to the wrong tent and stayed there, even though he was told to move by someone who beat him before. Sounds like revenge, not self-defense to me. Am I right or what? But there is video. So Karmelo will get used to fighting because he is a pretty boy, and lifers in prison like pretty boys. And why is Karmelo carrying a knife to a restricted place anyway? Nah, no self-defense to hear. Oh, please. Now, that is the commentary after reading a coach's testimony that he was being jumped. That a coach said, you go here, which authorized him to sit there. To somebody telling him to leave, which he didn't think he didn't. I don't know if he thought he needed to listen, which evidently he figured he would instead, listen to the coach. I'm not sure. But here he is being what the coach says, being jumped. Now, is this true? I don't know. That's the thing. I can't make a judgment. But this person has made a judgment saying that this guy went there looking for trouble. How can you make that judgment? You don't know the information or the intent of this person. It's unfortunate and it's frustrating. when people try to rush to judgment on things. I feel like I'm mansplaining right now, and I don't really want to. I'm just trying to remind you. Just trying to remind you that we're dealing with men and women and human beings. Now, Larry asked in the comments, did you see the press conference? I did. I watched a portion of the press conference, and I showed that the father of Austin Metcalf showed up inappropriately. I don't think it was appropriate for him to show up there to Carmelo Anthony family press conference. Now, it appears to me that I don't know why he was there or what his intent was. But what this could look like to people is that this could be seen as intimidation or bullying. Why show up there? If you wanted to be there, if you wanted to make your presence known, you should have gone there. You should have contacted the attorney and the family. I want to stand in solidarity with you. I want to show that I want the facts as well. That didn't happen. I don't think it happened because he just showed up there. He was not invited, it says, actually. He was not invited. He knows that it's inappropriate to be near his family, but he did it. That's what the Next Generation Action Network president added to once the press conference began. Now, Larry, I'm not sure what you mean by did you see the press conference, if you have any particular comments you would like to make about that. But I think it was inappropriate there. I think it was inappropriate for him to show up. Why he showed up, I don't know. What it looks like is attempted intimidation. What it looks like is attempted bullying. But that's only an assumption. And honestly, I probably shouldn't even be making that statement. But I'm just saying what it looks like. Was that his intent? No, I don't know. Could it be? Could he have tried to? I don't know. It's a sad situation all around. Let's see here. What else can we talk about? I have about 15 minutes left here on the show. And to be honest with you, my voice is starting to get to that point where I'm not able to. I think I'm going to have to call it here at 11 o'clock. But here is another situation where the Trump administration is failing people. So a gentleman by the name of Kilmar Abrego Garcia has been transported to El Salvador. It has been said that it is required that he be returned to the United States. The Trump administration is not only refusing a court order, but they're paying the El Salvadorian government to keep this man. Why? It says here, this is a lengthy post. I'm not going to read all of it, but this is from Heather Cox Richardson on Facebook. It said, Senator Chris Van Hollen posted a picture of himself with Kilmar Abrego Garcia, the Maryland man whom the Trump administration says it sent to the notorious CCOT prison in El Salvador through, quote, administrative error, end quote, but can't get back, and wrote, I said my main goal of this trip was to meet with Kilmar. Tonight I had that chance. I have called his wife, Jennifer, to pass along his message of love. I look forward to providing a full update on my return. While the president of El Salvador, Nayib Bukele, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, I apologize if I'm not, apparently tried to stage a photo that would make it look as if the two men were enjoying a cocktail together, it seems clear that backing down and going and giving Senator Van Hollen access to Abrego Garcia is a significant shift from Bukele's previous scorn for those trying to address the crisis of a man legally in the U.S., having been sent to prison in El Salvador without due process. Bukele might be reassessing the distribution of power in the U.S. According to Robert Jameson of the New York Times, who traveled to El Salvador with Senator Van Hollen, when a reporter asked President Donald Trump if he would move to return Abrego Garcia to the United States, Trump answered, well, I'm not involved. You'll have to speak to the lawyers at the Justice Department, or Department of Justice. Today, a federal appeals court rejected the Trump administration's attempt to stop Judge Paulo Zinnis's order that it take all available steps to bring Abrego Garcia back to the U.S. as soon as possible. Conservative Judge J. Harvey Wilkinson, who was appointed by President Ronald Reagan, wrote the order. Notably, it began with a compliment to Judge Zinnis. We shall not micromanage the efforts of a fine district judge attempting to implement the Supreme Court's recent decision. Then Wilkinson turned his face to the Trump administration. It is difficult in some cases to get to the very heart of the matter. He wrote, but in this case, it is not hard at all. The government is asserting a right to stash away residents of his country in foreign prisons without the semblance of due process that is the foundation of our constitutional order. Further, it claims that essence that because it has rid itself of custody, that there is nothing that can be done. This should be shocking not only to judges, but to the intuitive sense of liberty that Americans far removed from courthouses still hold dear. The government asserts that Abrego Garcia is a terrorist and a member of MS-13. Perhaps, but perhaps not. Regardless, he is still entitled to due process. Did you know that, by the way? This is a break from the article that I'm reading. Did you know that undocumented immigrants are still able to have due process applied to them? That's because of the 14th Amendment that Trump wants to repeal, by the way. Because if our Constitution is for everyone, if we're spreading democracy, quoting fingers, around the world, if we're spreading constitutional rights and constitutional democracies around to everybody, why wouldn't it apply to everybody? The government asserts that Abrego Garcia is a terrorist and a member of the MS-13, perhaps, but perhaps not. Regardless, he is still entitled to due process. The court noted that if the government is so sure of its position, then it should be confident in presenting its facts to a court of law. Echoing the liberal justices on the Supreme Court, Wilkinson wrote, if today the executive claims the right to deport without due process and in disregard of court orders, what assurance will there be tomorrow that it will not deport American citizens and then disclaim responsibility to bring them home? He noted the reports that the administration is talking about doing just that. And what assurance shall there be that the executive will not train its broad discretionary powers upon its political enemies? The threat, even if not the actuality, would always be present, he wrote. And the the executive's obligation to take care that the laws be faithfully executed would lose its meaning. After Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell's warning yesterday that Trump's tariffs will have significantly larger than anticipated economic effects, which will include higher inflation and slower growth, and his statement that the Fed would not cut interest rates immediately as it assesses the situation, today Trump began attacking Powell. Trump wrote on his social media site that Powell is always too late and wrong. His missive concluded Powell's termination cannot come fast enough. Firing Powell would inject more chaos into the economy, and this gets into the economic aspect of it. But in the Abrego Garcia circumstances, if somebody can be deported without due process, what does that mean for the people here that are left in the United States? What is it about this that prevents us from being deported, even though we are citizens of the United States? And that's the frustrating thing. That's the dangerous aspect of this. And this is what we have to think about. We have to consider what's being done to people, and then we have to think about what could be done to us under the same laws. You're listening to The Breakdown. Larry comments regarding Austin Metcalf's father. He has publicly forgiven Anthony. He claims he just wanted to hear their statement in person. He left without incident when asked. I wonder if that was his point. I wonder if his point was to say I was somewhere where I wasn't supposed to be, and I was asked to leave, and I left, and that's the way it should have been. I wonder if that's the point that he was trying to make. That I left when I was asked to leave. That could be. I don't know. If he wanted to hear their statement in person, he could have reached out to them, to a spokesperson for the family, and respectfully asked, "Is it okay if I show up?" Of course, I've never been in this situation, so I wouldn't know what I would want to do. But in all of these circumstances where anything like this has ever happened, I've never seen this occur before. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt that he wanted to just show up there, that he was following what he said. That's go by what he said. Try to give him the same benefit of the doubt that I give anybody else that he did that. So I would hope that that's the reason. All right, folks, let me get into some quick. I think I can get into some bad theology here. Can I pause this? I can. This is good. I like how I am now able to pause. See if it'll let me maximize this. Glad that I'm able to now pause Instagram. I can't make it much larger here, though. I wonder why. Huh. Okay. Well, here's this. This is very interesting, to say the least. Let's go to this.
Which is maybe a little bit different. I don't think we've sung this ever in our church, and you'll see why. Just be aware of, just be curious about your response to it. You may love it, you may not.
Well, I would say, hey, you're just called to sing a joyful noise unto the Lord. Don't be so self-conscious. Besides, what could go wrong? So sing away.
So if no, I don't really care what this gentleman has to say about it. It's not his opinion that I wanted to play that. The fact that they were singing this, and if you didn't, I'm going to go ahead and refresh this and replay this here so we can get
Our
the lyrics
opening
of it. She's of course giving a disclaimer that this is different and you should listen to what they have to say in the words of the song, etc. And the gentleman does say that, yeah, of course, we'll let you. You're going to sing to joyful noise and to the Lord. If you'd like to sing that song, let's go ahead and sing, because not everybody's going to want to hear it. It's a joyful noise unto the Lord. So let's see if we can get the lyrics.
What could go wrong? So sing away.
In Christ, the false divisions of gender, class, and race. I'm going to mute this. Can never separate us from God's abundant grace. Quirky, queer, and wonderful. Distinct, unique, and odd. All of our humanity reveals the face of God. Okay. So this is interesting. My first question is, do you want to go to a church where the music sounds like that? There are so many churches out there that are really trying to reach the lost and really trying to get the eye of the sinner so they can preach the gospel to them. A lot of great things being done to ensure that folks are listening to and hearing the gospel. Okay. I don't know if I would want to go to a church that sounds like that. I don't think it's relevant. I don't think it's relevant. I don't think that it's adding anything to what's necessary now, or what people really need to hear, what people really need to have taught to them or preached to them. That's my judgment. I wouldn't want to go to a church like that. Second, a lot of people are saying that this, because it's a woman pastor, they're out. There's the Bible talks about women pastors. It talks about women apostles. And the pastoral epistles like Timothy that says that, suffer not a woman to teach nor usurp authority over a man. Those are even the authorship of those. Whether or not Paul actually wrote that, whether or not Paul actually said that, is up in the air. Did Paul really say that he suffers not a woman to teach nor usurp authority over a man? Or was that somebody that was writing as Paul? See, that's also up for debate. There's one of those books, the pastoral epistles, and people don't even know if Paul wrote. So making a judgment because it's a female pastor. And then they're saying that if there was a song, that the guy's comments afterwards, he's saying if there was a song about self-worship or idolatry, this would be it. I don't think it's it. The Bible says in Romans that neither death nor life nor angels nor principalities nor powers nor things present nor things to come nor life nor death nor any other created thing shall be able to separate us from the love of God which is in Christ Jesus our Lord. That means that if you are a Christian and you struggle with sin, or you're a Christian and you're sinning actively, and you're not struggling, but you're still committing sin, that doesn't separate you from the love of God, which is in Christ Jesus our Lord. It doesn't destroy your salvation. It doesn't take away your relationship with him. Your relationship isn't based on sustaining a relationship. I'm sorry, your salvation isn't based on sustaining a relationship. Your salvation is based on a moment in time when you place belief and trust in Christ, and that is when you are saved, period. So I look at situations like this, and the judgment that comes from a lot of Christians, I think, is unfounded. It's unnecessary, and I think it's not based on biblical theology, but it's based on personal theology and distorted dogma that has existed for thousands of years. The word arsenokoitai was translated as homosexuality in the 1960s, I believe. Before then, it had unknown meanings, various meanings, and to use that as a dogmatic approach to condemning another person because of certain actions that they commit, I think we're a little past that. I think it's time that we grow past that and try to figure out exactly what the original text of the scriptures say and whether or not there's application of those particular prohibitions are against us. Now, you think about in Leviticus where it prohibits homosexuality, Leviticus chapter 18 and Leviticus chapter 20, it tells us what the punishment is. We don't follow the punishment, but we follow the prohibition. All right, folks, thanks for everything. We really do appreciate it. If you have any other concerns or queries, make sure to drop that at the breakdown. Go to aaronbarker.substack.com. Until next time, make Christ supremely valuable. All right, everybody that's listening over on Facebook, I appreciate it. J-May, I just want to give you the respect you had here. It says here, I've not made any judgment one way or another that on that evolving situation, other than there's a reason the weapon wasn't supposed to be on campus to prevent situations like this. Kids are a-holes. Some are even bullies. Neither is worth that, what has happened to both these young men. I agree with that 100%. I'm glad that you said that, J-May. All right, folks, thank you so much for staying with me. My voice has just about had it today. Hopefully I've been feeling better. Make sure you tune in. Go to aaronbarker.substack.com, sub to the show. Appreciate Larry joining us. Appreciate Jamie joining us. Anybody else who's listening that may not have commented, anybody else on the other streams as well. You have a great one, and we'll talk next time.